Listen, if you want to have a profitable ranch, a profitable homestead in 2025 as a family operation, we can't do things the way they've always been done. It's one thing that I've been trying to do with our family's operation, building out a small direct-to-consumer business on the side of what my family has always done. That's what I'm doing with these 3 steers. They should be coming around the corner anytime. Let's wait and see. We'll see if they come running around that corner here in just a little bit. But why am I doing direct-to-consumer beef? You know, my family's never really done it in the fashion that I want to start to build, and that's okay. You know, I approached my parents with the idea that I wanted to do this on the side, and I didn't just go and say, hey mom, dad, let's do this because it's better. No, you know, they've ran a ranch, you know, for their entire lives, and you know, they grew up both with in the industries, and who am I to question all that experience? No, I use what they have and what they bring to the table and learn from them. And I ask, you know, every day I try to learn something new from my parents, my grandparents, about like how they ran their operation and why they do things and how things work. And I'm no expert by any means, but I had this idea. And then you come to them with a business plan, like an actual business plan, like a written out business plan. I had it written out, you know, exactly what I wanted to do from start to finish, and exactly how I was going to pay for everything, you know, the rates of everything. And, you know, there were some tweaks I had to make here and there. Come to them like that, they're going to take you more seriously. They can tell that you're more serious, that you're more passionate about it. And they can actually, you know, critique you and think of it as an actual business idea and see where you're coming from. Then when they have questions, you know how to answer those questions because you've done the due diligence of putting in the work and getting those answers ahead of time because you had those questions yourself. You're not going to know everything from the get-go, and you have to come at it with a humble, confident approach. And that might seem contradictory. You need to understand that you don't know everything and you're not going to know everything. That's why you're starting small with 3 head. 3 head limits the risk for your family. If you lose money on 3 head, then it hopefully isn't the end of the world for your operation, or your family's operation, I should say. Now, if you're just getting started and you have to buy from scratch and stuff, that's a little bit different a story. But if you're trying to work with your family operation that's been going on for generations and put in this new idea, like a direct-to-consumer beef business, here they come around the corner right now. You're going to have to understand that there's going to be questions. And one other thing, I did is I reached out to people who have done something like that and did all the work to, lay the groundwork of like all these things that I might have questions on. And then when they asked me how I plan to do some of that stuff, I had answers. And it wasn't like one of those things where you're like, hey, I want to do this. Well, have you thought about this? And then I'm like, oh, no, I haven't. And then I have to spend a week or two to find the answers. It's like I've already put in the groundwork of figuring out like those questions that you were going to ask me. I already asked myself and I found the answers. And, there's going to be still some unknowns and I'm okay with that. But here's what I think is going to happen. Here's how I think it's going to work. Here's what I'm going to do if this doesn't work. And I would just really, really appreciate you, giving me the chance to do this with 3 head right here. And, that approach is ultimately what made me convince them to try the direct-to-consumer beef business on the side. And we did, 3 head compared to how many cattle in total my family has is like, it's a, 3 head is 3 head. They're worth a lot of money right now, but at the end of the day, again, it's not going to completely destroy the operation if you lose money on the 3 head. Do I think I'm going to lose money? No, I think direct-to-consumer beef is probably the best way for a family operation to not only survive, but to make more money, be more profitable in 2025 and for years to come. Because if you're looking at a feedlot, a bigger operation, and I have nothing against a small family feeder or something like that, if you're trying to compete with like a larger feedlot and you're primarily just selling to the packer, you are going to lose every time. Why? Because the packer does not care about your quality or your specific situation. Some of them cattle buyers might say they do. They don't. They're all being told to do by bigger money above them. Okay? Those cattle buyers are not in control. It's the people waving the wallets and the checkbooks at the big packers who really have control. And if that is your predominantly the only people that you can sell to, then you're at a disadvantage in the marketplace. If you look at the one thing you have as an advantage being a small family feeder is you have your story, you know, the history of your family's operation, you being, you know, a second, third, fifth, sixth, eighth generation rancher. That's your story. That's your operation story. And if you're worried about competing against your neighbor, there is plenty of demand for beef. You know, there's plenty of people, you know, in the city or even just outside the city, or even sometimes your neighbor will be willing to buy the beef from somebody who they know where it comes from. They want to know where their food comes from. There's a big push right now of like learning where your food comes from and knowing the quality of your food. And at the end of the day, you can beat the packers on quality, but you cannot beat them in a margin game. So family operations, I feel like, have to go direct to consumer. And it can be a different scale. There's different ways to do it. You don't have to just you don't have to just, you know, run ads on social media. You can build up your little email list. You can build up and turn it into a big email list. You can have like a small family feedlot and market to, you know, local restaurants or maybe a restaurant in a neighboring city. You can do many things with direct consumer. It's not just, you know, condensed. And, you know, I can help you build out, you know, kind of your business plan based on your specific situation. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to have their own little niche, their own community of people who they know that it's going to work best for. You know, I have a plan of how I'm going to market these three right here. I'm going to document the entire process of what I'm doing here. Obviously, these guys need fed, so we better get them fed. You know, we're tired of seeing family operations getting tore down and bought out by investors who just plow up the land. You know, I have nothing against a small family farm, crop farmers, row crop, nothing against that. But it's when the investors are tearing down generational ranches, generational farms that, you know, I think we can stop some of what is happening. We just need to understand where we are more competitive in the marketplace and help each other out. And that's exactly why I started the Agri Summit community. If you have any ideas of more content that I could put out, something that would interest you, maybe more so in the commodity broker realm, more so in the, you know, ag lending realm, maybe it's trying to get started in ranching, those types of things. Maybe it's more so about the Agri Summit group, things about that, about what it actually is. If you have any questions on any of that stuff, I'd appreciate it. Let me know. Let me know what you guys want to learn more about. But I believe in the value. I believe in the mission of helping the family rancher, the family farm, and I believe in what we're doing. And I'm never going to quit because of you guys out there, the people who reach out to me, who have reached out already thus far. You know, you're the reason I'm doing it. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not willing to give up on our family's legacy. I'm pretty sure you aren't either. With that being said, subscribe. God bless.